Mugi is a spineless loser who is in love with his hot teacher, but hides it cause she's way out of his league. However, when his freaky classmate finds out his secret, she offers to give him moral and oral support, so they start smashing, and he falls for her instead. But before that, a girl named Hanabi edges herself against her teacher's desk, hoping to feel the warmth of her crush Narumi, who was once her friend but is now her teacher. But unfortunately, Narumi only sees her as a sister and is in love with the hot music teacher Akane, which has left Hanabi depressed. So when she sees him flirting with Akane in front of her, she angrily walks out of the class but ends up crashing into her classmate, Mugi, who knows exactly how she feels since he's in love with Akane. Since they can relate to each other, he takes her to a secluded spot where they start wrestling with their tongues.
Yeah, boy.
However, they only see each other as replacements, as Hanabi imagines herself being in Narumi's arms while Mugi thinks about Akane. This all started during their first year when Narumi joined the school as their homeroom teacher. Upon seeing him, Hanabi was delighted as she thought she'd finally be able to bag him with her schoolgirl Rizz, until she saw him affectionately laughing with Akane, realizing that Narumi liked his milk expired. One day, she decided to invite Narumi to her place so she could fill his belly and empty his nuts. But as always, he ignored all her efforts. After dinner, as they walked together, Narumi told her that he now wanted a wife who would make him delicious meals like her, and this made Hanabi realize he didn't see her as wife material. The next day, she bumped into Akane and saw her up close, finally realizing that her parents made her with extra love instead of a quickie. It was on this day that she met Mugi for the first time, as she watched him talk to Akane with the same longing that she has for Narumi. After school, they ended up watching Akane and Narumi go home together, and Mugi eventually opened up to Hanabi, revealing that Akane used to be his tutor and he's been in love with her for years. From that day on, their friendship grew so strong that she started spending more time at Mugi's place. One rainy day, when she was feeling more miserable than usual, she decided to hug Mugi from behind, prompting him to ask if she's lonely. Feeling a tornado in his own pants, he started to reciprocate her feelings until an idea popped into his head, and he told her to imagine him as Narumi.
Yeah, boy.
At first, she was hesitant to the idea, but caved in and closed her eyes as she imagined Narumi kissing her. Things finally started to heat up, and she forced herself to stay quiet so Mugi could imagine Akane through her body. But just when he was about to wreck her pipes, her phone started to ring. After realizing they were about to make a mistake, Mugi and Hanabi made a pact where they would pretend to date only to satisfy each other's fantasies, but they also promised to never fall for each other. Finally, in the present, Hanabi rests on Mugi's lap and asks her if they're friends with benefits, and he tells her they aren't, since he will never take her to Pound Town. After school, Hanabi stops by Mugi's class so they can walk home together when her old friend Sanai approaches her. As the two catch up, she tells her they should go home together since they haven't done that in a long time when Mugi joins in. Upon seeing him, Sanai backtracks and tells Hanabi it's okay if she goes home with Mugi, as boyfriends come first. However, knowing their whole relationship is a lie, Mugi and Hanabi look at each other with guilt. Snapping out of her feelings, Hanabi thanks Sanai for understanding and walks away with Mugi, who later asks her if she was okay with ditching her friend. Instead of waiting for her answer, he leans in for a passionate makeout session when they hear a high-pitched noise telling them to stop. Noriko fumes with anger, seeing her best friend Mugi about to kiss a hoe with an ugly bob cut. From the start, Noriko thought of herself as a princess, while Mugi was to be her Prince Charming. That's why seeing Mugi and Hanabi together upsets her so much, and she instantly grabs his arm to mark her territory. But to her disappointment, Mugi nonchalantly introduces Hanabi as his girl, which pisses her off as she goes on a rant about how Mugi belongs with the cute chicks like her. Recognizing her as the annoying Labubu who bullied her when they were in diapers, Hanabi bluntly tells Noriko that she has always been a pesky brat. In retaliation, Noriko counters that she must have tricked Mugi into dating her. Before Hanabi can roast her, Mugi intervenes and tells Noriko that the only trick Hanabi played on him was making him work out his right hand every night and day. Now feeling powerful that she made movie goon like Tarzan, Hanabi grabs Noriko and tells her that it's not good manners to latch on to things that don't belong to her. Later on, Mugi tells Hanabi that she didn't have to go all alpha dog on Noriko, but she counters back by saying that he should have been the one to tell Noriko that he is taken. In response, he asks her if she is jealous, and Hanabi answers by saying that she is just territorial before grabbing him for a kiss. The next day, as Noriko catches the public bus, she internally whines about how a cutie like her has to share space with thousands of degenerates. Her mind then drifts to La La Land, where she is kissing Mugi, until she snaps herself out of her daydreams and acknowledges that it's not right for her to have these thoughts. After arriving at school, Mugi hands her her favorite snacks, which makes Noriko wet like a public toilet, so she openly tells him that she loves him. Later, during lunchtime, she decides to eat with Mugi and Hanabi, in hopes of making sure that Hanabi doesn't end up as Mugi's baby mama. Meanwhile, Hanabi decides to mess with her by putting on an elaborate display of love by feeding Mugi, but before he can eat, Noriko gobbles the bite like a starving crow. Out of frustration, she whines at them to stop being lovey-dovey, until Hanabi shuts her up by asking her if she wants her to bite Mugi, so she can finally get the memo that he belongs to her. Now embarrassed, Noriko accuses Hanabi of honey trapping Mugi by FaceTiming his dinky. With that, she declares that she'll never give up and runs off, leaving Hanabi and Mugi confused. Later that day, Hanabi finds herself helping Narumi by carrying the workbooks to the language prep room, a secluded place where she can show him that her milkers are now capable of producing dairy. But before she can unbutton her shirt, the sound of a piano fills the room, making her realize that it's Akane who's playing it, while Narumi mindlessly tells her that he loves hearing Akane play. After school, Hanabi goes to karaoke with Mugi, hoping to relax, finds herself too worked up to sing harmoniously. Observing this, Mugi asks Hanabi why she doesn't consider giving up on Narumi when she can easily get a crazy rooster of dudes with huge dongs. In response, Hanabi just tells him to jam with her, and after creating enough noise pollution, she tells Mugi that it's not easy to give up on the person you love. Understanding her, he tells Hanabi that at times he wishes he had never met Akane, but then he always ends up contradicting himself, realizing that deep down he's happy he got to know her. After turning off his simp mode, Mugi summons his inner Johnny Sins, hoping to give Hanabi the best backshots of her life. However, as they start making out, Mugi imagines he's kissing Akane and urges Hanabi to think of Narumi as well. The next day, Sanai recalls the arguments that she heard between Noriko, Mugi, and Hanabi, where Blondie was accusing Hanabi of using Mugi. However, Sanai can't help but wonder if it's Hanabi who's being used by Mugi. At school, Hanabi is approached by a couple of classmates who nervously tell her they want to learn about romance from her. When she later tells this to Mugi, he urges her to serve tea to the girls so she can have new female best friends. Hanabi pouts at his suggestion, which makes him ruffle up her hair, causing her heart to beat a little faster. After school, Hanabi goes to a cafe with her classmates Mitho and Ayumi. When Mitho reveals to her Ayumi's love drama, turns out Ayumi was dating a boy named Hiro who ended up cheating on her. But even then, she's unable to give him up and even agreed to be the other woman in his life. However, as fate would have it, a senior ended up hearing all this and promised to love her better than Hiro. So in the end, she decided to keep both guys around. After hearing her story, Hanabi asks Ayumi who she likes best, and when she reveals that she can't choose, Hanabi thinks to herself that if she could be with Narumi, she'd ditch Mugi in seconds. Realizing these hoes ain't loyal, Hanabi goes to hang out with Sanai and asks her if she has a crush on someone. Noticing her reaction, Hanabi instantly realizes that there's someone Sanai likes. So to get juicy gossip, she invites her to have a sleepover at her place. That night, Sanai looks at her pajamas and starts freaking out about how she doesn't have something cute to wear. During her wardrobe meltdowns, she suddenly begins recalling her first meeting with Hanabi. It happened one winter day when she was on the bus, getting diddled by an ugly Joe. Hanabi, who had been a stranger to her at that time, quickly noticed her pained expression and asked if she was in trouble. However, since she had her entrance exam, she couldn't do much except show Hanabi her application. Seeing this, Hanabi whispers back that she also has to take the exam and assures her that she'll take care of it. Then seconds later, she pulls out her phone and takes a picture of the ugly diddler, which scares him off. After getting off the bus, she thanked her profusely, and in response, Hanabi told her never to be afraid of these diddling diddlers. From that moment onwards, they became inseparable. In the present, Sanai shows off her pajamas to Hanabi, acknowledging to herself how she has feelings for her. That night, Hanabi annoyedly tells Sanai all about her conversation with Ayumi and Mitho, explaining how Ayumi sounded like a thought who wanted to have both men to herself. Hearing her disgust for such people, Sanai smiles, thinking that her crush is so pure. Once it's time to sleep, Hanabi apologizes to her for having a small bed, while Sanai wonders in fear if Hanabi can hear the heartbeat in her tuna taco. Suddenly, Hanabi asks her about the person she has a crush on, while all she can focus on is her lips. Unable to resist the urge any longer, Sanai discards all rationality and kisses Hanabi. As she gets on top of her, she angrily confronts her about her feelings for Mugi, stating that their relationship feels like a facade, and she knows this because she has been watching her closely. As Sanai's tears fall like pearls, Hanabi can't help but think how beautiful she looks on top of her, and in the end, she admits that there's a person that she likes, but since he doesn't like her back, she is dating Mugi. Now feeling self-conscious, Hanabi asks Sanai if she is disgusted by her, but in response, Sanai gently holds her face and tells her that she can comfort her better than Mugi since she actually loves her. Following morning, Hanabi wakes up to an empty bed. As she goes to purchase some groceries, she can't help but think about how it feels heavy to be the center of one's affection, especially if it's someone that she cares about. On her way, she spots Noriko, but decides to just ignore her, which upsets Noriko, who starts shouting at her to leave Mugi. 4 years ago, when Mugi started school, he had no idea what love really was, so when his friends would gush over how they wanted to cuff Mei up as she looked like a boy but had huge tatas, he couldn't really understand why anyone would love her. Turns out, Mugi already knew Mei closely since he had basically been eating that tomboy taco.
Yeah, boy.
Waking up from the dream of Mei and her jugs, Mugi realizes his rooster is up for duty. As he looks up, he realizes Hanabi is in his room, casually staring at him, feeling embarrassed. He asks her what she's doing here, and the weirdo reveals that his mom let her in. However, since it's still wood o'clock, Mugi pulls up the sheet and tells Hanabi that he's very sleepy, but in response, she joins in and starts cuddling him. Before she can find out that he's more bricked than a Nokia phone, Mugi pushes her inside his chest, hoping to shield her from his attack titan. But unfortunately, his efforts are all in vain as Hanabi instantly tells him that she knows his noodle has transformed into a pipe. All of a sudden, Mugi tells her to touch it, recalling his last conversation with Mei, who apologized to him for using his body, despite knowing that he is in love with his tutor. Just as Hanabi is about to play a round of whack-a-pole, Mugi stops her and says that if she riles up his python, he won't let her off easy. However, Hanabi tells him that she is fine with that, which surprises him. In the end, he decides to let Hanabi have her way.
I'm gonna come.
And once they're done playing with each other, Hanabi realizes that she feels relaxed around Mugi. When she shares this thought with him, he asks her what makes her feel at ease, and Hanabi reveals that all this hanky-panky has made her feel more bold. Out of nowhere, she jumps on him and starts bawling her eyes, saying that she wants to try and fall in love with him. Unable to say anything, Mugi instead takes Hanabi to a diner where they have a meal together when they spot Akane with an arm candy. Realizing that she has been spotted, Akane tries to greet Hanabi and Mugi, but her boy toy starts going hard on public display of affection. Initially, Hanabi tries to reason with her growing doubts that perhaps Akane is with her brother, but as things get progressively heated between them, she concludes that either Akane and her brother are from Alabama, or that's just her Ken doll. In the end, the boy tells Akane that she can't wait any longer and pulls her away from their booth. As the next day rolls in, Hanabi looks at Akane walking with Narumi and tells Mugi that she always thought Akane was trying to beat Bonnie Blue's record. Of course, Mugi instantly turns into a white knight and tells Hanabi that he knows the boy as Akane's former student, as he once saw them purchasing a reference book, which means that he must have just wanted Akane's help with a math problem. However, knowing the only math Akane and her boy toy were solving was 69, Hanabi decides to keep her mouth shut, fully aware that love makes people stupid and blind. As she walks away, her mind drifts to the moment when she gave Mugi a hand service and heard him say Akane's name. It then makes sense to her why he can't see Akane's true self, and it was she who was being stupid, thinking that her relationship with Mugi was more meaningful than she had thought. At that moment, Hanabi's sadness is replaced by revolting hatred as she seeks out Akane and confronts her about the boy she was with, faking a smile. Akane casually tells her that he was just a friend, but Hanabi refuses to believe that, since last night she told them to keep this little encounter a secret. Knowing all this, Hanabi can't help but wonder if Akane wants to keep everything hidden because she also has eyes for Narumi, someone she deeply cares about. Suddenly, the school bell rings and Akane rushes past her, allowing Hanabi to catch a whiff of the scent of cigarettes on her. At that moment, she realizes that Akane is in the same outfit she was wearing last night, the morning before her conversation with Hanabi. Akane boards the train, secretly enjoying how all the hotshots want to sit next to her. Evidently, the feeling of being wanted by everyone was something that she was used to and enjoyed deeply. This brings her back to the past when she was attending school and Saito, her friend's crush, approached her because she had dropped her handkerchief. Despite knowing that her friend is secretly watching their interaction, Akane purposely touched Saito more than necessary, even when she wasn't interested in him. However, seeing him squirm and blush made her excited, so she kept going on until her friend ran away in tears. Later on, when she approached her friend and saw her apologizing to her for no reason, she realized how she would rather walk over Legos than become a doormat like her friend. The night she was with Takuya was no different because after getting her guts rearranged by him, Akane had the opposite of post-nut clarity. Instead, she realized she loved herself more than anything and didn't find any shame in exploiting others. Once Takuya started pestering her for round 2, Akane asked him if he was still with his long-term girlfriend, but when he reveals they broke up, Akane's punani turns into the Sahara Desert. In the morning when she was hanging out with Narumi at school, she was perfectly aware that Hanabi was watching them. A smile forms on her lips as she thinks that Hanabi must really be down bad for the nerdy loser. A few minutes later, Narumi asks her if she would like to go out on a coffee date with him tomorrow, but she purposely tells him to stop by the music room, knowing that Hanabi is watching. Once Narumi leaves and Hanabi confronts her on the nature of her relationship with Takuya, she puts on her best poker face and tells her that he was just a friend. However, despite her sweet smile, Akane internally burns with envy since she always knew that boys looked at Hanabi with adoration and desire. So when she found out about her little crush on Narumi, she instantly seized the opportunity to get closer to him in order to make her jealous. That is why she purposely told her to stop by the music room after school, knowing that Hanabi will get to see Narumi turn into a lovesick fool over her. A few hours later, Narumi waits in the empty music room when he starts recalling the moment he first joined the school. It was a spring day, and he had his late mother on his mind. While he didn't remember much about her, he did know she had beautiful long hair. Just then he comes across Akane and her long shiny hair flowing in the wind. For him, it was love at first sight, and he instantly realized that Freud was right. Men always go for women who look like their moms. His thoughts are then interrupted by Akane, who rushes in, covered in sweat, but since he's into that, he gathers up his courage and confesses his feelings to her. And as predicted by Akane, Hanabi witnesses everything. Before she gets discovered by Narumi, Hanabi hides herself in a dark room. However, this time, she doesn't cry as she thinks that Narumi was really cool for putting himself out there. She then wonders if Akane and Narumi will start dating, while hoping they don't, since her poor heart won't be able to tolerate their couple goals posts on Instagram. Ultimately, she asks herself why she couldn't confess to Narumi when her old self materializes in front of her and tells her that she only lost to Akane because she didn't have the courage to make Narumi see her as a woman. After school, she heads to Mugi's apartment, hoping to rant about Akane snatching up her crush, but decides against it as she comes to acknowledge that she's only going to hurt Mugi with her need of comfort. On her way back home, she runs into Sanae, who asks her why she didn't meet Mugi. Instead of answering her, Hanabi asks if she was following her, and Sanae shyly admits that she was tailing her. Hearing this, Hanabi wonders why Sanae even likes her so much and, without thinking, gives her a hug. As tears start to pour out of her eyes, Hanabi apologizes to her for not understanding her feelings earlier. In reply, Sanae assures her that she doesn't care and starts kissing Hanabi, who is unable to pull back, despite knowing that it's wrong to lead her friend on. Sanae then asks her if she feels sorry for her, but before Hanabi can answer, she assures her that she's not going to get needy. At that moment, Hanabi thinks to herself that she can't bear to see her best friend in so much pain, so to make her happy, Hanabi lets her hit. As they lie together on the bed, Sanae inquires if she's nervous to get freaky with her, and when Hanabi confirms it, she asks her if it's because she's a woman. Now embarrassed, Hanabi assures her that she'd be the best candidate for a friends with benefits situation since only a woman can locate her being. But the problem is that she's her friend, and that's why she doesn't want to ruin their bond. Despite already knowing this, Sanae proceeds to get freaky with her, completely aware that she is taking advantage of her friend. Meanwhile, Hanabi tries her best to imagine Narumi on top of her, but since Sanae smells like Victoria's Secret, Narumi keeps slipping away from her imagination. Seeing her body tense up, Sanae asks her if she wants her to stop, but Hanabi lies and tells her to keep going since her touch feels good. Hearing this, Sanae tells her that it feels nice because she's touching her with love. Once Hanabi's sprinkler goes off, she is hit by a wave of sadness as her old self tells her that she used her friend to fill the void in her heart. That is why she is no better than Akane, as she ruined her friendship with her only friend. As Hanabi processes her new feelings, she realizes that she doesn't have anything special to win against Akane, since they're cut from the same cloth. She also acknowledges that Akane's true purpose of getting close with Narumi was only to establish superiority over her. Hanabi then recalls angrily confronting Akane, who arrogantly asks her if she's mad about Narumi or Mugi. Shocked by her brazenness, she then asked her if she was aware about Mugi's feelings, and Akane confirmed her suspicion by saying that she knew Mugi was using an easy girl like her to get over her. feeling enraged. She asked her if this is all fun for her, and instead of hiding behind one of her fake smiles, Akane told her bluntly that she feels powerful when she's desired by men. As a little runt, Hanabi was unlike other people her age. She never cried since she always found her mother sobbing because her father pumped and dumped her. In her mind, she had decided to be strong for her mom's sake, so one day when she found herself lost, she just waited quietly for someone to save her. That's when Narumi came, filling her dark world with colors. For the first time, she allowed herself to cry in Narumi's warm embrace. She wakes up and finds Sanai sleeping next to her. As she thinks about her beautiful hair, Sanai wakes up and tells her she feels like Alexander the Great after their little ditty party. Meanwhile, Mugi tosses and turns, thinking about how Hanabi thinks he's stupid and doesn't know about Akane's true nature. He admits to himself that there was once a time when he thought she was pure until Mei told him otherwise. Still, when he refused to believe her, she took him out one night where they caught Akane going in a love hotel with the Japanese Leonardo DiCaprio. That night, he cried himself to sleep, and the next day, when he saw Akane in the same outfit as last night, he realized that she was no better than a mattress actress who couldn't live without a Gunner's attention. From that moment on, he started picking up on Akane's flirtatious moves, and despite knowing better, he allowed himself to get lost in the sauce. During one of his sleepovers with Mei, he shared with her how he still liked Akane, causing her to angrily bite his ear. After thinking about the past, Mugi decides to call Mei for some comfort. Once they meet, she bluntly asks him if he wants to go to a love hotel. Mugi stutters in response, but Mei assures him that she knows she's basically his free-use fantasy. And since she was the one who initiated this relationship, she can't blame him for seeking her out for only physical closeness. After arriving at the hotel, Mei gives him a low-tier Haktua, which only leaves Mugi feeling more terrible than before. After Mei takes her leave, Mugi realizes that she feels guilty for using his body. The next day, he hangs out with Hanabi at the rooftop. As always, she does the talking, and he quietly listens to her Japanese. Suddenly, Hanabi grows quiet and thinks to herself how there were moments when she and Mugi were close, but now they were no less than strangers, since they had started spending more time apart. When she asks herself why things have changed, she reaches the conclusion that it's because their relationship was built on taking away each other's loneliness. And since she had Sanai now, she didn't really need Mugi. Despite admitting that, Hanabi crashes her lips against his, and soon things get heated between them. As they pause for oxygen, Hanabi asks Mugi if he slept with someone else. He confesses that he did and then tells her that he knows she did too because her kiss felt extra hot this time. At that moment, they decide to take the biology class back at his place. During their makeout session, as Hanabi looks up at Mugi, he is suddenly taken aback by how beautiful she is. He then admits to himself that whenever she looks at him, he wants to turn into Spider-Man and throw his white web on her. So when she tells him that she wants him to explore her love tunnel, he is visibly taken aback. In the meantime, Narumi asks Akane what she feels for him. Internally, she cringes at the sight of him, labeling him a sore loser, but on the surface, she tells him politely that she wants to get to know him better and invites him to a date. That night, Akane goes all out and fills herself with booze. Now feeling tipsy, she thinks to herself how Narumi is one boring loser and turns to leave when she suddenly trips. Before she can fall and make the ground ugly, Narumi catches her and accidentally calls her Hanabi, turning her on. Now feeling excited, Akane passionately kisses Narumi. Meanwhile, Hanabi tells Mugi to go all the way in this time. But when he tries to talk her out off it, she responds by pushing him closer to her body. On the other hand, Narumi takes Akane to his favorite spot, so in return, Akane takes him to her favorite spot, which is, of course, a freaky hotel. However, since Narumi is a bigger virgin than you, he asks Akane if she is sure about letting him hit it. This annoys her, and she wonders what Hanabi even saw in Mr. Limp Noodle here. So to prepare herself for the worst smash session, Akane brings up Hanabi, asking Narumi if he thinks she is cute. In response, he tells her they are practically siblings, which prompts Akane to complain that she is jealous of how cute she is. Not understanding her dirty scheme, Narumi assures her that she is the one for him by kissing her. In the meantime, Mugi prepares to cross the final barrier when Hanabi chickens out and yelps in pain. In the end, he just covers her body with a blanket, stating that he doesn't want her catching a cold now. However, disappointed in herself, Hanabi asks Mugi why they are unable to smash, and he tells her that it's because she doesn't love him. For some reason, Mugi's answer upsets her, and she turns to leave when he grabs her hand and asks her if they should start dating for real. In response, she tells Mugi that she wants to go home, which causes him to ask her if she is still a virgin. After telling him that her Pandora box hasn't been opened yet, Hanabi returns home, realizing that she hates being alone. The next day at school, as Hanabi walks to class, Akane passes by her and whispers that she got freaky with her beloved Narumi. Upon hearing that, Hanabi freezes while Akane walks away, feeling more satisfied than she ever was playing 3 seconds of Super Smash Bros. With Narumi. Meanwhile, Hanabi finds darkness swirling inside her and becomes obsessed with hurting Akane by taking away all her lovers. However, just when she starts plotting against Akane, her innocent self asks her if she is willing to hurt people in the process. But Hanabi reasons with her that this is the only way to be happy. That day, Hanabi tells Mugi that she wants to date him. Mugi affectionately pats her head and asks her if she wants to go home with him, but she turns him down and says she has things to do. With that, the two part ways and Hanabi heads to meet Sanai, who asks her why she called her. That's when Hanabi reveals that she has started to date Mugi for reals now. Without meeting her gaze, Hanabi realizes that no matter how selfish she attempts to be, she just can't bring herself to hurt her dear friend. But in return, Sanai tells Hanabi that her dating Mugi changes nothing, as she wants to be used by her. Then without any warning, she kisses Hanabi, who tearfully pushes her back and says that she won't be seeing her alone after school since she doesn't like being diddled. With that, Hanabi runs away, realizing that the girl's sleepover ruined everything, and it's partly her fault. But despite knowing that, she can't bring herself to look at Sanai's face after breaking her heart. Meanwhile, as Sanai watches her disappear into the distance, she vows to herself that she won't let her go, no matter what. The next day, Hanabi feels a headache brewing when a classmate asks her if she wants to go to the library with her. Not wanting to stay in the noisy class, Hanabi agrees, and the two head out when they are spotted by Sanai. Once inside the library, Hanabi tries to relax, but then Sanai joins in and starts feeling up her hoo-ha. Tears start to pool inside Hanabi's eyes as she tries her best not to cry over Sanai's nails clawing her kitty. Seeing her reaction, Sanai tells her that since she told her they can't meet after school, this arrangement should be fine. Hanabi stays quiet, feeling guilty for using her friend to fill the void Narumi had left behind. And now, she can't take back what she has damaged, so she allows Sanai to have her away with her, hoping this would be a form of repentance. A few moments later, Hanabi finds herself in the school's infirmary with Sanai sitting next to her. Noticing she is up, Sanai tells her that she should have told her about her fever, but in reply, Hanabi tells her that she didn't give her a chance and went straight for her tuna. Hoping to hide her embarrassment, Hanabi turns away from her when Sanai pushes her face against her and assures Hanabi that she doesn't have to worry about their nasty relationship, since it's not like she can put her seed in her soil. Without waiting for her to say anything, Sanai then asks her why she decided to start things with Mugi again. When Hanabi refuses to answer, she reminds her that she is already attractive enough and doesn't need to hoe herself out to get her true love's attention. But in reality, Sanai wants to watch Hanabi fill herself with darkness until she is no longer pure and sweet, because once she is corrupted and has nowhere to go, she will be waiting for her. However, seeing Hanabi so sad, she tells her that it's okay to hide her true self from others and put up a mask. But when Hanabi hears those words, she can't help but think of Akane, which makes her wonders if Sanai, Akane, and everyone around her are just as lonely as her. After recovering from her fever, Hanabi later goes to do her grocery shopping, where she encounters none other than Takuya, who instantly recognizes her as one of Akane's students. At first, Hanabi is grossed out by his touch until she remembers her plan of stealing all of Akane's lovers. Quickly softening her eyes, she sweetly tells Takuya that she remembers him as well. Once the two get talking, Takuya asks her if she is single, and she assures him that she is. Once that's out of the way, he invites her for a day out, and so the next day after school, Hanabi links up with Takuya, where they spend the day playing games and doing karaoke. It's during one of these moments when Takuya attempts to Rizz Hanabi, but since he's no Rizzologist, Hanabi cringes internally and instead asks him about his relationship with Akane. Takuya honestly answers that Akane has other side pieces, and since Akane will never be his, she should go out with him. Suddenly, Hanabi finds herself more disgusted than ever, realizing that both Akane and Takuya have their own rosters, and right now, Takuya is trying to recruit her for his personal harem. Despite finding the whole situation pathetic, Hanabi puts on a show and asks Takuya if he can still love a virgin girl like her. He quickly answers that he can and starts kissing Hanabi, who realizes that every time she is touched by someone she doesn't love, she feels more empty than before. Finding herself breathless, Hanabi stops Takuya, causing him to ask her if she wants to go to a love hotel, but she quickly rejects him and says that she doesn't have feelings for him. In response, Takuya tells her that once she slurps his gravy, she'll instantly fall in love since he eats pineapples daily. However, Hanabi finds herself thinking about Mugi and how every time she is touched by him, it felt good. At that moment, she realizes that during their pretend game, a part of her started to crave Mugi for real. She then pushes Takuya off and tells him that someone as superficial as him won't be able to understand her. However, Takuya doesn't mind the insult, but Hanabi curses herself for turning his wee-wee soft. Suddenly, her head is filled with Akane's taunting voice, telling her she is a prude and she will never be able to beat her. Before Takuya can be completely turned off by her, Hanabi innocently tells him that she is scared because she's still inexperienced. Upon hearing this, Takuya embraces her and assures her that they can take things slow, while Hanabi vows to keep this performance going until he is in love with her. Right before summer vacation, Sanai tells Mugi that Hanabi is fooling around with other boys, so he should be careful. This upsets him as he wonders if Hanabi is really cheating on him. Later on, Noriko confesses her love, and in response, Mugi blankly tells her that they can go on a date tomorrow. Despite knowing that he's lying, Noriko tells him that she will dress up for him since she loves him enough to be just one of his toys. All her life, Noriko had only been on a date once. They went to eat crepes, but all she could really think about was what would have been like going on a date with Mugi. She realized soon enough that this date was no less than a game of pretend. In the present, Noriko finds herself apologizing to the boy she went out with as she feels guilty for not even remembering his name. Sighing heavily, she gets to business and starts dolling herself up so she can look the prettiest for Mugi and herself. Meanwhile, Hanabi tries to busy herself by scrolling Reddit, while Takuya asks her about her ear piercing. She tells him that it's fake since she is afraid of pain, which weirdly turns him on, now wanting all of her attention. Takuya snatches away her phone, which annoys Hanabi enough for her to give him a tight slap. As she walks out on him, Takuya weakly tails behind her, insisting that he can make up with her by eating that cookie for 10 hours straight. Now feeling embarrassed and angry, Hanabi asks Takuya if all he thinks about is smashing, and he bluntly replies that since he is a man, the only thing he is interested in is eating her cookie. To further tease her, he begins whispering cultured things in her ear, which causes her to flood downstairs when all of a sudden he gets a call from his side piece, so he tells Hanabi he is going to get his dinky wet elsewhere. Elsewhere, Noriko tries to get Mugi's attention, who continues to treat her coldly. As he walks ahead of her, she can't help but look at him sadly. At that moment, she finds herself dying for his touch. Once they enter a cinema, Noriko realizes that she is completely alone with Mugi, and because of this, she can barely focus on the movie. With the moment just right, she makes the bold move of placing her hand on Mugi's. However, she can't help but cry as she is hit with the realization that she can't live her life just as Mugi's toy, because deep down, she wants more of him. After the movie, Mugi tells her the movie was good, which uplifts her spirits. However, when he starts walking ahead of her again, Noriko begins to tear up, her heart heavy with the weight of his love. Watching him walk without looking back, she wonders how he felt when she placed her hand on his. All of a sudden, Mugi turns towards her and tells her they should grab a bite. This makes her happy as she runs to catch up to him. In the meantime, Hanabi wonders why she chased after Takuya, who left her without a second thought to get a mid-sloppy toppy. Sighing, Hanabi realizes that she absolutely failed to make Takuya her fan, and then wonders why she can't differentiate between being loved and lusted over. As she watches a couple go by, she can't help but ask herself how she ended up becoming such a hollow woman who would put on a facade just to be loved. Realizing that she is truly alone at this moment, Hanabi decides to call Mugi, who declines her call. Seeing this, Noriko tells Mugi that he can tend to the caller if he likes, but he assures her that it's not a big deal. Despite being prioritized, Noriko is unable to bring herself to smile, as the feeling of having more of Mugi grows stronger and stronger inside her. After dinner, she tells Mugi she had fun, but in her head, she realizes that she will likely keep dreaming about Mugi being her Prince Charming even when she knows how unsatisfying it is to have him in real. Suddenly, he pulls her hand and says that she hasn't looked at him in a while now. Still averting his gaze, Noriko smiles sadly, knowing that had Mugi rejected her touch during the movie, she would have gone Hana Baker on him. Meanwhile, Mugi tries to get a response out of Noriko, who suddenly tells Mugi that she loves him, and upon noticing her tear-stained face, he is taken aback and ends up kissing her. In the end, they return to his place, where Noriko tries to lie to him about having fun again, but finally admits that it was lacking in more than just one way. When Mugi asks her if she knows why that is, Noriko acknowledges to herself that she has always known what was lacking between them. This leads her to the time when they were in diapers. Even then, she was way too different from Mugi. While she liked castles and Versailles, he wanted to live in a shogun's palace. Eventually, in the end, Mugi grew tired of her and told her he is done pretending to be her boyfriend. Hurt by his coldness, she let out her crocodile tears, causing Mugi to take back what he said. Turns out, she had always known that she could get whatever she wanted with her tears. In that moment, Noriko has a confrontation with her conscience, who compels her to leave this persona of the pure innocent princess that she uses to her advantage. However, Noriko's corrupted self fights back, asserting that she must continue to pretend until she has Mugi. After turning her back on all her morals, Noriko hugs Mugi as the two share a kiss. In that instant, she realizes that she should have swapped spit with Mugi sooner because there is nothing greater than being kissed by the one she loves. However, unable to resist the itch, she asks him if he was skipping algebra classes to taste Hanabi's spit gravy. But instead of answering her, Mugi tells her that his body is heating up like a Samsung phone just looking at her cute face. Hearing this, Noriko admits to herself that she is cute and she has always known this, and that is why she is going to use her cuteness to stroke the anaconda resting between his legs. As Mugi tries to take off her plot armor, Noriko begins to resist, stating that she hates her mosquito bites. However, Mugi assures her that he wants to see those chest pimples since they belong to her. But in truth, he is glad that the room is dark as he believes Noriko is basically Pico with longer hair. In the end, he is unable to ruin someone he cares about, so he stops and tells Noriko that she will always be someone special to him. As her heart breaks in pieces, Noriko tells him that she knows she's special, but that means nothing to her if she can't even feel his touch. The next day, Hanabi and Mugi meet up, and she tells him they should confess to their true crush before summer vacations end. A couple of days later, Hanabi whines about all the homework she has to do while preparing for her college entrance exam on top of that. Mugi remains as nonchalant as ever and tells Hanabi that once he completes his homework, he is going to confess his feelings to Akane. Upon hearing this, Hanabi announces that she will also confess to Narumi, so Mugi tells her that they should do it together. Elsewhere, a boy named Atsuya waits for someone and gets glazed by every foid that looks at him, since he basically looks like he is packing an 11-inch dong. Suddenly, a hairdresser comes up to him and asks if he would like a free haircut. Atsuya is taken aback for a second until he hears a familiar voice and looks up to see Sanae running towards him. As they greet each other, he apologizes to the hairdresser by telling her he can't betray his barber and walks away with Sanae. Meanwhile, the hairdresser can't help but think how beautiful Sanae and Atsuya look together. A few minutes later, they arrive at the coaching center, where Sanae tells Atsuya that he didn't need to come all the way to the city to take coaching classes, but he replies back, saying that he is here because she is also here, blushing slightly as their eyes lock together. In that moment, he can't help but think how Sanae looks breedable with her long hair. As it turns out, Atsuya and Sanae are long-distance cousins. Initially, they lost touch with each other until they got reunited at the public school, where he was instantly taken aback by how pretty she was. So he told her that he wants to date, but got rejected by her with a slap on the face. Persistent as ever, Atsuya confesses to her again, but even now, she tells him that she can never date him since she likes to eat kitties. However, that doesn't faze Atsuya at all as he asks Sanae if she likes her crush because she is a woman or because she just so happened to fall for that girl. Since Sanae has no answer, Atsuya continues by telling her that he is glad she found someone that's worthy of her love, so by default, he likes her too. Finally speaking up, Sanae tells him that she probably hates men, but he counters her and states that she doesn't hate him, which means she doesn't like or dislike based on gender. In the meantime, Mugi and Hanabi end up on top of each other as she asks him if he is scared about confessing his feelings. Mugi admits that he is, especially when he knows Akane's answer is likely to be a no. Hanabi tries to provide comfort by telling him that he can imagine her as Akane, but he tells her that he can no longer see her as Akane. Blushing deeply, Hanabi tries to say something in response but fails, causing Mugi to just avert his gaze as he tells her they should wait and see how it all ends. Returning home, Hanabi goes through the pictures of Narumi and recalls the moment when he first got his teacher's license. When she congratulated him, he started to cry like a sissy and told her that he is proud of how much she has grown. He then grabbed her hand and asked if she remembers the day she got lost in the snow. Despite telling Narumi that it's too embarrassing for her to remember, she can't help but think how she has made so many fond memories with him. In the present, she decides to text Narumi, asking him if he is available on Sunday. Similarly, Mugi texts Akane, asking if he is free. The next day, Hanabi and Mugi meet up in the park, where she tells him that she's going to confess to Narumi in the night and he should confess to Akane in the afternoon. In response, Mugi jokingly asks her if she is ready to get rejected, which bums her out. So he tries to salvage the situation by telling her that it's better to get rejected together than doing it alone. Before leaving Hanabi, he hugs her and says they'll meet tomorrow once the war is over. However, Hanabi finds her heart beating faster than ever, and once she is alone, she wonders why she reacted this way over Mugi's touch. The next day, Mugi meets with Akane, who asks him why he called her out on such a hot day. He apologizes to her, but she hits him with the Akane special combo by telling him that he's special, so she doesn't mind. Mugi smiles, knowing Akane is putting up a performance and tries to get it all out, but she stops him and says they should find a better spot to talk. Once inside a cafe, Akane shamelessly flirts with Mugi, telling him he looks like Jude Bellingham with that summer tan. This prompts him to wonder what kind of men Akane really likes, but then he remembers that she used to give it up to old sleazebags, which indicates that her legs are open 24/7. Despite these thoughts, he tells Akane that he loves her, or at least he used to. A smile forms on her lips as Akane tells him that she likes him too, but Mugi instantly calls her a liar. When she tries to object, Mugi stops her and says that he knows she's a liar because he has been watching her. As he begins to think about the past, Mugi realizes that he has liked Akane because he couldn't have her. All of a sudden, Akane tells him that she has always cared about him. Despite knowing her too well, Mugi can't help but be shaken up by her words. A few minutes later, they end up in a hotel where Mugi tells her that he already knows about how horrible she is. In the meantime, Hanabi confesses to Narumi by telling him that she has liked him for a long time. In response, Narumi tightly embraces her, letting her cry until her heart feels heavy. Later that night, Hanabi assures herself that she will be fine as she will eventually get over her unrequited love, especially since she has Mugi. The next day, Hanabi feels the aftermath of getting rejected. As tears start to fall out of her eyes, she looks at the phone and thinks how Mugi never showed up that night, leaving her only with a sorry text. This makes her wonder whether things went well for him, which upsets her further since he knows Akane is just a trickster with show-stopping knockers. At that moment, Akane's ugly face pops up in her mind, telling her that all men want to be tricked by a pretty thing. Suddenly, she receives a text from Sanai asking her if she'd like to go on a trip. A few hours later, Hanabi arrives at the train station when Sanai grabs her hand, causing her to blush. Seeing her reaction, Sanai assures her that she doesn't need to worry since nobody knows them here. Without saying anything, Hanabi thinks how her fruity friend can be pretty straightforward during such moments. A few hours later, they take a taxi to their destination, when Sanai thanks her for coming. A blush forms on her cheeks as Hanabi nervously tells her that she must be loaded if she can afford a vacation to a resort. Sanai laughs and tells her that the resort belongs to a relative. Once they arrive, Hanabi raves at the sight of the traditionally built resort when Sanai whispers to her that she can loudly make happy dolphin noises since they have the whole resort to themselves. Just then, Atsuya pops up, shocking the girls. That night, the three of them dine awkwardly when Hanabi realizes Atsuya looks a bit like Sanai. After dinner, Sanai urges Hanabi to wash up and apply baby oil on that body of hers so she's nice and moist for her. Without objecting, Hanabi heads inside the bathroom while Atsuya asks Sanai if she is mad at him. She annoyedly tells him that she is prompting him to say that she still looks the prettiest even when she's angry. Out of irritation, she ruins his shirt with dish soap, causing him to take off his shirt. As they sit down for a chat, Sanai angrily asks him how did he even know that she's going to be at the resort. Atsuya then reveals that her mother told him, to which Sanai angrily says that this was supposed to be her chance to show Hanabi the power of her tongue. However, Atsuya cuts her off and tells her that she has to be an idiot for thinking Hanabi will fall for her, and deep down, even she knows that. So in truth, she just wanted one last memory with her. Enraged by his constant meddling, Sanai yells back that there's nothing wrong with wanting one last hurrah before parting ways. But once again, Atsuya tells her she doesn't have it in her to leave Hanabi alone. Unable to handle the truth, Sanai storms off by warning Atsuya not to intervene if he hears freaky noises from her room. Later on, Hanabi finds herself getting diddled by Sanai when she asks her if they are going to do it. Sanai replies that she didn't bring her on a vacation for free, so she better let her eat that taco. After a passionate night, Hanabi feels well rested, so she quietly slips out of the bed and stumbles upon Sanai's diary when she discovers a wrapper tucked between the pages. This causes her to recall their first meeting, when she gave her a candy as a good luck charm. Shocked by how much Sanai valued her tiny gesture, Hanabi turns to look at her and finds her crying in her sleep. Wanting to clear her head, she heads outside and finds Atsuya, who asks her if she'd like to go on a walk. As they head to a lake, Atsuya bluntly tells Hanabi to make up her mind about Sanai, since she shouldn't be a placeholder for her until she gets to be with someone she loves. After the confrontation, Hanabi and Sanai head to the town for some shopping. Seeing her so happy, Hanabi realizes that she hasn't seen her friend happy in a long time. Without thinking, she kisses her cheek, and later that night, Hanabi realizes that she must clear the air with Sanai. However, before she can speak to her about it, Sanae grabs her into a hug and tells her that she did good by confessing to Narumi. After soaking in her comfort, Hanabi prepares to face her feelings when Sanae stops her and says that she is thankful for all the time they spent together, but she is going to let her go now. Feeling overwhelmed, Hanabi tells Sanae that she was the one who took advantage of her, but she stops her, revealing that she had made her mind before the trip. With that, she tells Hanabi that she's going to sleep in a different room and wants to go back home in a separate taxi. After processing the conversation, Hanabi runs after Sanae, who has now crossed Sasuke Uchiha's level of emoness by crying in the pouring rain. Hanabi then tells her that she wants to stay friends with her, which pisses her off as she tells Hanabi that it's hard to just stay friends with her. Despite being drenched down to the undies, Hanabi refuses to let Sanae suffer alone, so she tells her that no matter how long it takes her, she will always love her for who she is. Upon hearing this, Sanae cries harder than before as she thinks of herself as someone who is unlovable and worthless. But in the moment, she allows Hanabi to comfort her, realizing she has the same frightened eyes as hers, and like her, she is also afraid of being alone. As they hug, Sanae tells Hanabi that she still loves her a lot, but she will try her best to forget her romantic feelings for her. The next morning, Sanae tends to a sick Atsuya, who inquires about Hanabi. She reveals to him that she went home, which causes him to console her by saying that she did good. In return, Sanae tells him that since he knows what it's like to yearn, she will try to trust him more. A few days later, Hanabi enters her classroom for the new semester, but she can't help but think how things have changed for her as she takes her seat and faces the window, without paying attention to Narumi. After school, Hanabi gets trolled by Noriko, who asks her if she got rejected too. At first, Hanabi finds herself getting angry, but then Noriko tells her that she loved Muhi better than her. That's why she feels good about herself. With that, she walks away after telling Hanabi to try out the sweets from the school's cafeteria. At that moment, Hanabi realizes this was Noriko's way of telling her that they are both girls who lost in love, but one day they'll be okay. Meanwhile, Mugi gets his world rocked by Akane, who randomly drops by his apartment to ride his magic carpet. As Akane takes her seat on Mugi, she starts thinking about her first time, which happened when she was a student. The guy who swiped her V-card was a senior, and was of course, admired by everyone. Since he was experienced, he managed to make her toes curl. The more she pretended to enjoy, the more he wanted her. By then, she had realized she was better than all those frail girls who didn't love themselves enough to be bold for their crushes. After a nap, Akane asks Mugi if he finds her boring, causing him to nervously assure her that she has the best poo out of all the girls he has been with. He continues to tell her that it's her selfishness that excites him, which makes Akane cringe internally, but she puts on her usual act on the surface. As they kiss, Akane pities Mugi, thinking that she has completely fooled him. So when he invites her out on a date, Akane tells him that she can't go since she will be tasting Narumi's hot dog. Mugi gets all quiet while Akane vows to herself to shatter his world completely. The next day, Mugi is unable to focus on anything when he hears the girls in his class talk about how their boyfriends casually hook up with random girls, but they can't bring themselves to leave, especially knowing that most of the time, physical intimacy is meaningless to boys. Mugi silently agrees, thinking how having multiple girls is like going to a buffet where you get to try chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, and more. Sighing, he realizes that something must be done about his feelings, so he confronts Akane and tells her not to go on a date with Narumi. In response, she closes the gap between them and asks Mugi if the thought of Narumi's airplane crashing into her twin towers made him upset. Infuriated by her nonchalant attitude, Mugi then slams her on a table and says that he is very angry with her. But all Akane says to him is that he looks handsome even when he is cross with her. At that moment, he realizes that the reason he can never be with Akane is because he is scared of having her hate him. Clearing his mind, he once again tells her not to go out with Narumi, but all she does is give him the same fake smile. Later that night, he wanders through the city, still thinking about Akane and how she doesn't have it in her rotten heart to love anyone. Then another thought enters his mind, as he wonders why he even thought he could change Akane with his love and sub-5 wee-wee. The next day, Akane meets up with Narumi at an aquarium. However, she can't help but think how even the ugly fat penguins are more entertaining than Narumi. She then wonders why they aren't at a love hotel, since they've already slept together. Now feeling irritated, Akane asks herself why Narumi is disinterested in sleeping with her when he clearly knows that she loves doing the dirty cardio. The more she thinks on the subject, the more annoyed she gets, and realizes that going on these dates make it look like she is the one pursuing him. During lunch, she makes up her mind to dump Narumi since she doesn't do nice guys. However, just when she is about to break up with him, Takuya spots her and calls her a tramp for having a new arm candy. The girl who had been with him gets angry and scolds him for being disrespectful, when suddenly, Akane loses her temper and punches Blondie square in the face. She then angrily tells him that he's a jealous freak who couldn't pass her boyfriend test with his millimeter Peter and terrible head skills. But in reality, Akane remains quiet, knowing she can't show her emotions, be it love or hate, and lets Takuya get away for disrespecting her. Now alone with Narumi, Akane blankly tells him that whatever he heard about her is true. She is a floozy who loves the attention, but even more than that, she loves being a homewrecker and making other women jealous. Narumi is too stunned to speak while Akane continues to tell him that she won't change, and even when she is an old hag, she is still going to get on her cracking knees and give the best sloppy ever. With that said, she turns to leave, thinking Narumi would be completely turned off since he can't make a wife out of a hoe. As she makes plans to date other guys, Narumi grabs her hand and tells her that she doesn't need to change at all. After embracing her, Narumi reassures her that he doesn't mind her sleeping around, and if she's worried about giving him freaky diseases, then she shouldn't because he likes it when it burns during pee time. Now weirded out, Akane wonders if she is in the company of a psychopath. However, when he asks her if this is really going to be their last date, she tells him no, which even surprises herself. Returning home, Akane calls Mugi for some midnight fun, but for some strange reasons, she is unable to forget about Narumi and how she was the one who couldn't let go of him. She then asks Mugi if it bothers him when she hoes around, and he annoyedly admits that he gets jealous imagining her with other men. After hearing his response, Akane thinks to herself that this is how Narumi should have reacted, but instead he behaved like a loser who watches his wife get destroyed by huge schlongs. Suddenly, Mugi asks her if she also feels jealous, but Akane tells him that she only feels envy when a boy falls for someone other than her. Upon hearing her response, Mugi can't help but wonder if Akane is more immature than he had thought. As things get passionate between them, Mugi recalls a conversation he had with Hanabi, who once told him that if he wants to change someone, he must first change himself. On that note, he decides to let Hanabi go from his imagination, as he realizes that a part of him still seeks her during vulnerable moments. And since he wants to change Akane, he must learn to handle pain. At that moment, he grabs Akane and tells her that he wants to go on a date with her. Despite knowing a rejection is coming, Mugi remains steadfast while Akane tells him they can talk about such stupid things later. However, Mugi stands on business and screams at her that he is tired of pretending to be mature and wants more than just her body. Stunned by his boldness, Akane's face softens up as she asks him if he has any plans in mind. Instead of answering, Mugi embraces her in a hug while she thinks about all the people she has been with. She particularly reflects on one memory where she made her boyfriend cry because she decided to sleep with his whole friend group. That event made her realize that she had always loved crossing lines since she feels too disconnected from everyone. In the present, she wakes up next to Narumi, who tells her that they are almost there. In return, Akane jokingly tells him that their out-of-city vacation feels like they are having an affair. Narumi stutters and says that he's not married, so this is their pre-honeymoon stage. Seeing him act like a broken recorder, Akane can't help but sigh and tells Narumi to lighten up. Meanwhile, Hanabi finds herself once again in the company of Mitho and Ayumi, who eagerly ask her about her relationship with Mugi. Dreading this conversation already, Hanabi tells the girls that she only agreed to come because they wanted her advice. In reply, the girls reveal they want to learn from her relationship since she and Mugi look so perfect together. But since rumor has it that they've broken up, they just want to know what happened. Hanabi then thinks back to the night she was abandoned by Mugi and quietly tells the girls that she hasn't seen the dude since summer vacation. This shocks the girls, who ask her what happened between them, but Hanabi nonchalantly tells them that they weren't good for each other, which makes them think that she is someone who can survive 20-25 situationships. In the meantime, Akane and Narumi arrive at their destination, where he tells her that she is very easygoing, but the comment doesn't faze Akane since she decided to stop being fake nice with Narumi. Suddenly, he tells her to act more relaxed at school, but she curtly tells him to piss off. Instead of getting upset, Narumi just tells her that her ice cream is melting, and in response, she tells him to give it a lick so she can analyze his tongue skills for her cha-cha. After coming to the hotel, Narumi tells Akane to look at the view, but she simply lies on the bed and tells him that if he wants to see the sea, he should look between her legs.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
However, Narumi quickly pulls back and nervously tells Akane that he is going to grab something for drinks, leaving her shocked. A headache starts brewing in her head as Akane wonders how the fudge did she end up with Mr. Nice Guy. In the meantime, Narumi goes to the hot spring for a good soak, where he starts thinking about his late mother. Looking up at the sky, he wonders how the stars look. But since his glasses are off, he decides to step out and go stargazing with Akane. However, after crushing his glasses by mistake, Narumi ends up practically blind and curses himself for being so stupid. After a lot of trouble, he enters his room, where he sees Akane's shadow and is instantly starstruck by how gorgeous she is. Narumi's inner simp then comes out as he tells her that all the beautiful things in the world exist only to complement her beauty. Now flustered by his simping, Akane asks him why he didn't mind when he found out that she loves to jingle balls. Narumi blankly tells her that he doesn't want her to stop because she seems to love sleeping around. This frustrates Akane, and she angrily asks Narumi to be honest to her about how he feels. However, when he takes a moment to respond, Akane grows impatient and tells him that he should feel jealous. Narumi asks her if she would hate him if he doesn't feel jealous, and Akane tells him that she would, while cringing internally over how pathetic she sounds. Out of nowhere, Narumi tells her that even if she hates him, he would still love her. Surprised by his answer, she wonders if it's really possible to love someone knowing they can only respond with hate. Unable to understand why Narumi would unconditionally love her, Akane starts to cry as she asks him why he's in love with her. To answer her question, Narumi places a kiss on her forehead and tells her that it's hard to explain why he loves her, but he just wants someone he cherishes to live a good life. After staying in each other's embrace, Akane asks Narumi why he doesn't want more, and he tells her that if he starts seeking more, then he will end up hurting the woman he loves the most. Suddenly feeling freaky, he starts taking off Akane's clothes while she tells him that it's okay to hurt people even if it's someone that he loves a lot. As Narumi connects his charger with Akane's port, she breathes in pleasure, realizing that she finally feels connected with another human. The next morning, Narumi and Akane wake up with a stinking headache, and she nervously asks him if he remembers what happened last night. To reassure her that he wasn't that drunk, Narumi hugs her and says that he remembers everything. After a few hours, Narumi shyly asks Akane to marry him, which surprises her a little as she asks herself if what she feels for him is even real. Nonetheless, she tells him that she will marry him, but will cheat on him all the time. To her dismay, Narumi happily hugs her and begins celebrating. A few days later, Mugi picks up Akane for their date, but from the start, he knew that this was going to be their last date. Many years ago, Akane told Mugi that she loves teaching, which surprised him, but she kept going and said when she dies, she doesn't want to be remembered. Back then, he thought she was really cool, but now he knows that Akane attaches herself to these roles so she can somehow find meaning in her meaningless life. In the present, he tells Akane that he wants to experience new things now that the world is filled with multiple opportunities. Akane smiles and says she feels the same. Seizing this moment, he is about to ask her for marriage when Akane confesses that she is about to get married. At that moment, he realizes that even women like Akane can change if that's something they desire for themselves. He tries to curse her, beg her, but all he says is congratulations. By the end of the night, Akane tells Mugi that she loved using his face as a chair and asks him if he thinks she's terrible. Mugi smiles and tells her that he does think she's a demon, but he doesn't resent her for it. With that said, Akane thanks him for the fierty and walks away when Mugi suddenly bursts into tears and tells Akane that he always wanted to change her, but he has realized now that he loved the broken woman who slept with multiple men. Akane smiles and tells Mugi this goodbye, causing him to sadly accept that Akane was never meant to be his. A few days later, Hanabi is approached by Mitho and Ayumi, who tell her that she is going to be a stagehand for the upcoming festival. Feeling anxious, she asks them what she'll have to do, and Mitho assures her that she doesn't have to do much, except look after some of the stage preparations. Before Hanabi can turn them down, she recalls how Mugi once told her to make new friends, so she ends up accepting the job. As the girls express their gratitude and take their leave, Hanabi thinks about last night when Narumi came to break the news of his wedding during spring break. Since he had come personally, she decided to walk with him for a bit when he asked her if she was surprised by the news of his wedding. However, Hanabi surprises him by saying that she wasn't shocked at all since he was madly in love with that succubus. Internally, she feels a little satisfied knowing things didn't work out for Mugi. Noticing his glasses are missing, Hanabi asks Narumi if Akane made him wear contacts, and when he confirms that, she laughs a little and admits that she prefers the glasses since his new look reminds her of his old self. Suddenly, he asks her if she would come to the wedding, and Hanabi smiles through the pain and promises that she wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. A couple of days after her conversation with Mitho and Ayumi, Hanabi finds herself taking charge of the decorations at the school's festival when Ayumi's boyfriend comes to take her on a date. Watching her go, she smiles and thinks to herself about all the possible love routes she could have taken. Gathering her courage, she finally decides to pay Mugi's class a visit, but when she learns his class is hosting a fashion show, she becomes hesitant until she's pushed inside by an eager crowd. Just when she turns to leave, she is greeted by a baddie in a bride's costume that leaves everyone awestruck. As Hanabi looks closely, she realizes it's annoying Noriko looking more confident than she ever looked. This causes her to recall their last conversation, where she boasted about loving Mugi more honestly than her, which is why she feels proud of herself. Seeing this change in Noriko makes Hanabi realize that she is still the same silly girl who hasn't improved herself at all. In the end, she decides to return to her position where she first gets chewed by her class representative for being late, which scares her enough for her to work like a donkey. A few hours later, Hanabi decides to rest in the storeroom, where she thinks to herself that it's not bad being alone and remembers another conversation she had with Mugi, who asked her if she was scared of being alone. At that time, she nonchalantly told him that she wasn't afraid since she had always been alone to begin with. Stretching up her body, Hanabi tries to get back to work when she finds Mugi on the opposite end of the room, who had also been there to rest. A couple of minutes later, Hanabi returns to her class, where she gets chewed out by her rep to clean up the decorations. Seizing this opportunity, a simp named Moriyama rushes to help her carry the heavy objects back to the storeroom where she had the fated run-in with Mugi. After getting the job done, Moriyama tries to confess to Hanabi when suddenly Sanai shows up with a fruity haircut and tells Moriyama that Hanabi belongs to her and takes her away. However, before she leaves, Hanabi thanks the boy for proposing to her, leaving him feeling less awkward than he did before. After a while, Sanai turns to leave when Hanabi tearfully thanks her for saving her and then notices her new haircut. Sanai smiles as she thinks back to 2 years ago when she was reunited with Hanabi, who instantly took a liking to her hair. That's why she decided to cut them short, hoping the new year will help her move on from her crush on Hanabi. After their lighthearted conversation, Hanabi returns to her class, which is filled with students congratulating Narumi and Akane for their wedding. As Narumi spots Hanabi looking all sad, he tries to comfort her, but Akane stops him. Instead, she takes a flower from her bouquet and teases Hanabi with it in a weird attempt to cheer her up. With that, she tells her to make sure her next crush doesn't get stolen by a man-eater like her. As the day comes to an end, Hanabi wonders if all the memories she made with Mugi were meaningless in the end. However, when she finds him waiting for her, she recalls how he apologized to her in the storeroom, which in return made her realize that she had been in love with him all this time. Suddenly, he states that Akane really did change in the end, and Hanabi tells him that since she loved Narumi, she accepted their relationship and has made peace with it. In that moment, the two realize their hearts feel lighter than they ever did in a long time. While Hanabi acknowledges that this is the first time she and Mugi used words to comfort each other instead of their usual freaky sessions. By the end of their conversation, both Mugi and Hanabi realize they love each other, but in order for their love to be real, they decide to part ways, hoping to live their lives to the fullest until fate reunites them when they least expect it. Did you feel lonely seeing everyone get action? If you want a ditty party of your own, comment sensei, and as always, like and subscribe for more.